All right, hey everybody, it's Catie Harris, owner and CEO of NursePreneurs, and today we are going over some NOLA stuff. So we're going to be talking about calendars, how to set up a calendar properly with automations, and how to make this work for your business. So very excited to do this. Ira, do you want to pull up our demo account? And as you're doing that, I'm just going to talk through and tell you what NOLA is. So NOLA is a CRM, which is a client relationship management system. The base of it is high level, so it is a multi-billion-dollar software. It's not something I created myself, but it is something that we did customize for nurses to make it useful and helpful for nurses. Oops. And so, when you start a business, you need to be organized and you need to do marketing. And a big part of this is getting a CRM in place. And even if you have nothing else, you don't have a website, you have nothing else, you need a calendar, right? There's nothing more irritating than going back and forth with somebody like, let's set up a time to talk. Okay, well, when can you talk? Well, what about next week? Well, I don't know. And especially if you're doing this over email, I literally have spots taken up on my calendar, just instantaneously. And by the time I get your email, the spot that you picked might already be gone. So it's much easier and much more effective to just let people sign up using a calendar by themselves. And also, I feel like this especially exploded after COVID. I remember before COVID, I needed to make an eye doctor appointment, and I kept looking for a site where I could just sign up for my appointment online, and everybody wanted me to call. And I know it's a little thing, but I don't like getting on the phone. I don't want to get on the phone. I just want to call. I just want to make the appointment online. So make this easy. So this is going to be the very first thing that you're going to want to do is set up a calendar and get that link. You can, once you get the link, you can put it in a QR code. You can put it on brochures. You can put it on buttons on your website. You can put it in social media. But make a calendar first and foremost where people can make appointments for you. So what Ira has up here is our dashboard. So when you first log in, this is what you're going to see inside of NOLA. So you'll see the name of your company up at the top left, and you'll see your dashboard. So we've created this dashboard, and we'll go over this in another video, but the dashboard helps you understand your numbers. And if you scroll down on the left-hand side, you'll see calendars, and that's where we're going to go first. So when you pull up a calendar, this is your calendar. You can see it by day, week, month, and that's on the right-hand side, upper right-hand side. You can see it by day, week, or month. And if you have multiple calendars, which you can set up as many calendars as you want, we're going to start with one calendar today, but if you have multiple calendars, down on the bottom right, you will see calendars, groups, and also if you have multiple, if you go back to calendars, Ira, at the bottom right there. So that's where you'll see multiple calendars, multiple groups. And if you have multiple users, you can look at calendars based by user, based on, the type of calendar that you have. So that's another very useful feature. And from here, once you have your calendar set up, let's say you're talking on the phone with somebody, they do call in and they say, I want an appointment. You can just click into whatever day it is that you want to set up their appointment, or you could use the button on the right to book an appointment, and you just choose the calendar that makes sense. So we have different calendars for different things. I have different people in my business. So if I'm going to do an online Zoom call, I want to set them up with my calendar that is connected to my Zoom account, so that on the back end, when we go through that, so I'll have multiple different calendars. So I'll have an online medical consult calendar. So if that's what I was trying to set up here, that would be the calendar that I would choose. And then you could give it an appointment title. I usually just say what it is, like medical consult online, you pick the team member. I'm the only team member in my office that can do that consult. But if you have a front desk and you have multiple providers, they can pick the team member at the team member section, and then you can do the time. So that the time that's going to show up are the times that are available based on your open hours and that staff member's availability. If you want to override or double book a time, then you can click on the custom, which is right next to it, and then pick a custom time. And that's actually a little tricky. Can you click into one of those, the custom time, yeah, and pull that up, and then pick the day that you're going to do, and then confirm. And then you get this clock. Oh, yeah. Sometimes a clock comes up. Have you seen that clock? That's annoying. Like you have to use your mouse to move the clock handles around. But if you can just, choose it, whatever time it is that you're going to do from when to when, how long the appointment's going to be. And then you want to, on the right-hand side, you're going to select the contact. So you need to know who this is going to go to, and they have to have their name and email in there. If not, you can add the new contact straight from there as well. So if you add a new contact, you just have to put their name, and you need either a phone number or an email. If you have both, that's preferable. So as much information as you can get is ideal, because the system will allow you to email and or text. And it's great for that because the automation that we'll set up on the back end, generally we send text messages and emails just so that they get the appointment reminders, because that's going to be really, really important. I know if I don't get appointment reminders, I forget. I just don't remember to go to my appointment. So that is the quick and dirty. I mean, this is the easy part, right? Like, just how do you set up an appointment? It's all touch, click, and you can set it up pretty easily. It does get a little confusing when you have multiple calendars and multiple users, but it's all pretty much straightforward. So that is the front end. This is only operational when you have set up the stuff on the back end. So let's look at what we have. If you X out of this, Ira, at the top left, we have a couple different sections. There's calendars. What's the next one? What does that say? No. Up at the top, calendars.
Appointments and calendars.
Appointments. I never go into appointments. Is that new?
Okay, so the appointments, here they will be able to see like the list, like they can view it daily, weekly, or monthly. But if they would like to view it in a list, so you can easily use the appointments tab here. So upcoming appointments will be available here, and they can also change the status of the appointment here.
Okay, awesome. And then if you go to calendar settings, this is where you're going to set up your calendars. Okay, so this is, if you will notice, when she went to calendar settings, we also, the blue bar on the left-hand side also moved us over to the back end of the system. Can you just show that? Because now we're no longer we're in calendars, but in calendars under settings. So if you go back, there's calendars, and then settings at the bottom where she's pointing out is how you would get to calendar settings, or you can go the way that we did. So there's a couple different ways to get there, and one's kind of a front end, and this is the back end. So now we're in the back end, and we have there's a lot of stuff that you could do potentially. We're going to go over the things that are basic that you need to do to get done. So you can see there's you can do calendars and groups and services venues and equipment rooms and all that kind of stuff. We're going to do just a basic calendar right now, and you can play with all of that stuff later. So what we're going to do is create our first calendar, and so you can see there's a button up at the top, and then there's these scheduling types. Ira, can you go over a little bit, or are you comfortable going over the different types, scheduling types, and when you would choose what for when?
Okay, so with regards to the scheduling type, so we have different types here. So personal booking, this is specifically if the calendar is for one team member only. So there's also round robin. So this is applicable if they have team members that they would like to be assigned on that calendar. So there's also class booking and collective booking. So for example, we can use the round robin so that in the future, if they will be having additional team member inside of the system, they can definitely assign multiple users inside of the calendar.
Right. So for personal booking, let's say you have, each team member would have their own calendar. So if you did a personal booking, then people would say, I want to have a meeting with Sarah. So you pick Sarah's calendar and you put that down. Now, let's say you do body contouring and you have like 4 techs that can do body contouring. We would put all of their names in there, and then whoever's available at the time that the person chooses, then that person would be selected. And you can also optimize for a specific tech, or you can optimize for availability. You can prioritize different team members if you want, Susie to have more appointments than Jane for whatever reason. So there's a lot of opportunity there to customize how it's done. Let's start with the personal booking. So, if you're going to set up, let's say you're a solo practitioner, it's just you're the only person here. What you're going to do is create your calendar, and you want to give it a name. So if you could call it Jane's personal calendar, right? People will see that though, right? So that's visible to the public. So you want to make it something that's you're okay with. And then you're going to select the team member. You can add a description for sure. You're going to select the team member. And then you're going to have to give it the slug. And then it says it's not valid. It's because there's spaces. You can't have spaces. So what Ira did there was just put dashes. And now it's saying that slug is already taken. So sometimes if you just add numbers or random letters to it, that will... that makes it a custom URL. And then you have a meeting duration. How long is this meeting? So if this is a discovery call, and maybe you want to do free discovery calls. So 15-minute free discovery calls. So you would make that meeting duration just 15 minutes. If it's going to be like an online consultation, you might make it 60 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever the case may be, but we'll stick with 15 minutes. The booking availability, this should already be set up in your personal profile, but if not, I typically put just the business hours there. And then the system, once it's integrated with your calendar, will match it to your calendar and the business hours. Is that it on that page? What are the advanced settings? Can you go to advanced settings?
Okay, so with the advanced settings, this is they can adjust additional settings like on the availability. They can adjust here like the buffer time or the date range that they would like to set for the availability.
Okay, so this is important. So let's stay here for a second. So the meeting interval, we said there was 15 minutes, right? So that's how long. That's the interval in between meetings, right? So the meeting duration is 15 minutes, and that's already there. That's on the right. The interval is the meeting. How much time is set aside for that meeting, right? Or that they can
the time between the meeting slots.
So they can choose every 30 minutes, but for 15 minutes. So if you want 15-minute meetings that are available every 15 minutes, then you would make the meeting interval 15 minutes. So if you put 15-minute interval there, then they'll be able to choose a time at 11, 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, 12, so on and so forth. If the meeting interval is 30 minutes, then they can only choose an appointment at 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30, but the meeting would still be 15 minutes. So hopefully that makes sense.
And I will also say one example of why you might want to use something like this is, let's say you're doing your consult, it's 15 minutes, but then when it's finished, perhaps you need a half an hour to finish paperwork or update notes to make sure everything is organized.
Well, that's buffer, so that's different. This is just let's say you don't want people to see that you have 60 appointment times available. So you only allow people to book a 15-minute appointment every hour on the hour, right? So you can only book at 11, or if you do a 60-minute interval, you can only book at 11, 12, 1, 2, a 30-minute, 11, 11:30, 12, 12:30, 15-minute. I mean, you could do 5-minute intervals. Somebody could book a 15-minute consult at 12:25, right? So that's what that interval means. So typically, people are going to pick either 30 or 60 minutes, and it defaults to a 30-minute. But you might not want to start, and you have to think about this logistically, because you might not want to start a 60-minute call at 12:30, because then it kind of blocks up the rest of the day. So just something to think about, and you can play with that. Now, the minimum scheduling notice. This I do use a lot, because I don't want to, I need my day planned. So I don't want to be sitting here and all of a sudden somebody books a consult on my calendar for like 1 o'clock. I don't want, at 1 o'clock, I'm already set. I'm going to take a break. I want to go have lunch. And if somebody books a time, like that screws me up mentally for whatever reason. So I want to have, I'll do like a 12-hour buffer, scheduling notice. So or 4 hours, at least 4 hours. I want to know 4 hours in advance. Like I don't want anybody between now and the next 4 hours to be able to book on my calendar. And if in 4 hours you're closed, then they wouldn't be able to book until the next day. So that is also something to think about. I just don't want them to be able to book, for the next minute. And then, that gets confusing too, because like if they book and you're out at lunch and you're like, oh crap, now I got to go do this consult. So I want at least 4 hours minimum scheduling notice. And then date range people do use a lot, because do you want somebody booking 9 months from now, right? So a lot of times salespeople will use this tactic a lot, and they'll say, book a call, but they'll only open their calendar for like 3 days, right? So they'll only have like a 3-day window. For me, in a wellness center, people need time. So I usually leave this open, because I don't have a problem with somebody booking 6 months in advance. But you might want to limit it to 90 days or 3 months, just because you might have big events coming up, or, you want to take a vacation and you're not sure, and, you don't want to have to like reschedule people. So 90 days is probably a good window for people to be able to book appointments. What does that one say? Maximum bookings.
Maximum booking per day.
Right. So if you, let's say this is an online consult, and I used to do this for my podcast, because I didn't want to do like 10 podcasts in a day. So I would limit the number of podcasts I did to, I think it was like 2. 2 is my max. Like I didn't want to do any more than that. But for online consults, like, I really don't, they can be draining. So if something's draining for you, you don't want to come in and find out you have 8 consults a day, unless that's what you want to do. So if you don't care and you just want to, the maximum number of appointments booked as much as possible, then you can leave it blank. But if you let's say you only do 2 new consults a day, that would be the maximum bookings. And then maximum booking per slot, per user. So this defaults to 1, but if you do double booking, you can put more bookings per slot here. So if you want somebody to be able to double book, and we did this when we did a promo for our hormone therapy, we allowed for double and triple booking, knowing that statistically a third of them weren't going to show up. And, we were able to entertain them with things to do and forms to fill out. So we were able to get like 2 or 3 people in a slot, knowing one of them wouldn't show up, and then maybe one person would be late, and it always kind of worked out. And maybe once in a while, somebody had to wait a little bit because all 3 people showed up at the same time for the booking. So if that is part of your practice, you can do that. If you're like, absolutely not, I don't want to run into that whatsoever, then I'll only have one booking per slot per user. Otherwise, that's something you could do. Now, this is what you were talking about, Sarah. The buffer time is time before and time after. So if you have a 60-minute consult with somebody and you want to have 30-minute buffer time beforehand to prep for it, you would put 30 minutes there. And if you don't need any prep time, but you want to be able to write your note afterwards, then you would put let's say you put 30 minutes so that you can finish up your note. So what would happen is, the meeting duration, let's say, is 60 minutes. You go on, you have the call, and then nobody would be able to book anything for those 30 minutes afterwards. And that would be your time to write up your note, and that way you don't get behind. If you don't want pre or post buffer time, that's fine as well. You can just leave those blank, but that is something that you can think through. The default here is really just, the real minimum that you have to have is the meeting duration. How long is this meeting going to be? And then you can leave everything else blank. Otherwise, that's some customization that you can do to your calendars. And you can just play with it. You can see how it works. Or maybe you do a consult one day and you're like, oh my God, I definitely need some buffer time. And then you just go and you fix it back here. And then all you do is save and you're good. So that's availability. So you can see there's tons and tons of customization here that you can do. The forms is also a really good thing. You can just use this default form. So when somebody fills out the calendar, they go and they pick a day and a time, and they choose to work with you. This default form is going to come up. It's going to ask them what's your first name, your last name, your email, your phone number, and then there's a note section. And that's the default calendar form that they'll fill out. If you want them to fill out something specific, and we're not going to go over forms today, but there is a form section, and you can choose anything you want, right? So let's say you have, well, keep it on that discovery call form. Let's say you have questions you want them to ask. So you would create a form and you would say, what's your name, email, phone number. You still want to get that information, but then it's like, why do you want to have this call today? Or what are you interested in? Or do you want more information about our membership packages? You can customize the form to ask them any question that you want. And that information will then be collected on this form, and you would just select that form at this point, and that's the form that would be associated with this calendar. The add guest, what is that?
So add guest, if for instance, if the client would like to have or companion during the appointment, so they can once the add guest, they can select add and then just insert the additional guest that would join on that consultation or on that meeting.
Okay, so this is by default toggled off, but let's say you do have, maybe you run a marriage thing or whatever, and you want, let's say the one spouse is signing up, and you toggle this to add guests, and they can add their spouse's name and email, and you would both get the notifications. And then it looks like you can send a custom form. We're not going to go over that because that's a little bit more complicated. Now, scroll back up for a sec. The confirmation page is going to be the thank you page. So if you do nothing, right, like if you just save this form and move on with your life, after they sign up for an appointment, this is the message that they'll get. It says, thank you for your appointment request. We will contact you shortly to confirm your request. Please call our office at, and that bracket is going to be, when we set up your account, we set in your contact method. So you can either change that and just put your phone number, or you just let it default to what the system has as your contact method. And if you have any questions. Now, I typically, unless I'm in a hurry, I prefer to redirect people to a URL. And what we'll do, I like to send them back to my website. So you can either do this inside NOLA. You can create a thank you page inside NOLA, and we'll show you that when we get to funnels. You can, and the thank you page is an opportunity to really showcase more services. It's an opportunity to showcase more of you. Like, so the thank you page could go to you. Like you could put up a video of yourself that says, hey, thanks so much for signing up for our appointment. This is what you need to know about your visit, type of thing. Or here are some other things that you might be interested in, or maybe go to our store, or maybe it's just a simple page that says, thanks, we got your appointment is scheduled. Be sure to check your email for reminders, right? So I do like a redirect URL, but if you're not that advanced and that's too much at the moment, then just use the default setting. And I would customize this message, because unless you're going to call them, I would say like, thank you for your appointment. We'll see you soon, whatever, something like that. But I would definitely customize this thank you message. I wouldn't leave it just the way it is. And then the more advanced, when we get to it, would be to redirect them to a URL. Now, if you have a Facebook Pixel ID, you can put that in there. That is, it's way more advanced and it's not necessary. So you can just ignore that. Auto confirm new calendar meetings. Absolutely, just leave that as toggled on. Now, this is another one. So the payments, a lot of people want to take a deposit, or they want to take money, or they want to pay. So I do this with my online consults. So I've had when somebody comes into the office, they schedule their appointment, they come in, and then there's just that natural, okay, you owe me, $100 or whatever you're charging, and they pay right then and there. But when you're online, it's somewhat awkward, because, it's kind of like, okay, well, I did the consult, and I've had this happen where after the consult, I'm like, okay, well, you owe me $100, and then they disappear and I never hear from them again. And so you don't want to be doing consults for free. So for my online consults, where the person isn't coming in, I configure a payment option, and I charge them up front in order for them to complete the calendar registration. So I would toggle that to on. If you toggle that, and then let's say the payment of the total amount is $100, you can accept partial payment. So if you clicked on partial payment, if you want to just do a deposit, and let's say they owe you $20 now, you could put in the deposit amount, which is $20. And then I would add in a little description about what that is. This is a $20 deposit towards your visit. Total amount is $100. So you can just put whatever you want there. And then this has to be connected to Stripe in order for it to go live. But you would toggle that on to live. And that's it for this page. So that's how you would accept payments, and that's how you accept a deposit for this. So notifications, so these are all defaulted. There's really nothing to do here. I wouldn't play with any of this stuff. Scroll down for me. I always allow Google Outlook calendars to send reminders, so I always click that one off. I allow my patients, what's that one? Assign
contacts to the team member, so that once the appointment has been scheduled, the lead or the patient will be assigned to the user or the team member.
Okay. Yeah, that's important. And then the scheduling, I always allow people to reschedule a meeting, because I don't want to have to resend links and stuff. But let's say you have a policy where they can no longer reschedule a meeting 24 hours in advance. They have to call the office. So you could put, you can rebook up into 24 hours prior to the meeting, or, an hour before the meeting, or whatever your cancellation and reschedule policy is. What does that other one say? Allow cancellation. Oh, so if it's okay for them to cancel the meeting, but if you don't want them to be able to cancel the meeting same day, you could certainly say within 24 hours of an appointment, or 2 hours within the appointment. And then down below, what is the additional notes? So this is, what is
Just
that?
additional notes. They will just receive these notes. For instance, if the appointment has been scheduled, so they will receive this kind of note. Like if they want to reschedule, the rescheduling link will be included, and also the cancellation link.
Okay, yeah, so they'll be able to click on those links and just be able to reschedule straight from there. And then the last part of calendars, what is that last on the bottom left?
Before we go with the customization, just want to go back here with the notification and additional options, since we will be discussing appointment automation. So inside of the calendar settings, there's notification settings here. So if they don't want to have a customized appointment confirmation or notification, they can just enable the notification inside of the calendar setting. But if, for instance, they would like to customize, like in the appointment confirmation, they would like to include a link, form link, or like a page that they would like to the patients to have a visit, so they can just use the appointment automation, which we will show later, and then they can just disable the other settings here for the notification. So currently, the default setting here is the appointment book, the appointment confirm. The notification will just be received in the app. But if they would like to enable notification on email, so if they don't want to have it customized, they can just enable inside of the calendar settings.
Okay, awesome. And then that last one is customization. So here, like if you want to make it pretty, you can add your logo. You know, I do that a lot of times. I'll just, and if you want to change the colors, you can, you know, change the primary settings of the colors right there. You can, whatever your hex code is. So you can leave it or you can add those types of things. And that's it. Yeah, so that's a calendar. So once you get that set up, and you can have unlimited calendars. If you want to have 6,000 calendars, you know, go for it. A lot of people need multiple different calendars. It's not usually enough to have just one calendar, because, you know, even I'm a solo practitioner and I have at least 6 or 7 different calendars, because I have a special calendar. If somebody wants to come in for microneedling and Morpheus, well, that's a 90-minute appointment. I need to order things, so I need like 5 days notice for that. So, you know, that gets very confusing if I were to, you know, put everything in and with like my 15-minute discovery calls. So those are 2 different calendars. So that's something to think through as well. So you might have 15, 20 calendars, depending on how many staff members you have, how many special services you have, and all that kind of good stuff. So, and that's what it looks like. So people will, on the front end, when somebody clicks on your link to schedule an appointment, they're going to pick the date. Oh, go back to that.
Sorry.
That's okay. You lost it.
This is how they can see the calendar link. So just click on the three dots, share, and then just copy the code, and they will be able to get here.
Right. And you can see those are the intervals. So those are, is it 15? Those are 15-minute intervals. And then the appointment is scheduled for 15 minutes as well. So they would select that time, and there's that default form. So they'll put their name, phone number, email. If they want to add a message, if they want to add a guest, they can do all those things. And then they would just schedule the meeting. And it, you know, from there, this is where we are now done with calendars, and we have to go and do something special with the automation, because it's like, okay, well, the person just signed up, but how do we get those emails and text messages and notifications out to everybody? So we're going to go back to the very front page, where you open up to dashboards. And on the left-hand side, you see where the calendars is highlighted. We're going to scroll down to automation, where Ira is now, and we're going to click on automation. All right, so again, workflows, as you do more and more and more of these, you will have like many, many automations. I've got like 10 pages of automations at this point. Can you go back to where you first were? So that when you first open up, we've created some basic automations for you. So you have core automations, nurture automations. What we're going to do is go over that just the calendar automations right now. So that's under core automations, right? So this is a folder that has different automations already in place, and some of them are drafted, some of them are published already. So the first one that we're going to do is appointment booked. So if you click into your appointment booked automation, this is the flow of what people will go through once they book their calendar. So, everything is you want to be very, very specific with your nomenclature. So you don't want to have to click into things, like, what is this automation? Like, make it as clear as possible. So appointment is booked is the name of the automation. There's no kind of like, I wonder what this automation is. We know what this automation is. It's for calendar. The appointment is booked. And the trigger is, what is it that has to happen in order for this automation to occur? So when you click into trigger, the trigger name again is appointment booked. So, this is when an appointment status is confirmed. So, so confirmed, then that means that the person filled out all of the information on the calendar form. They hit submit, everything looked good. And then it's going to come over here and it's going to say, okay, what calendar is this, right? So instead of in calendar group, is there another in?
Yes, there is.
Go back and delete that for a second, because I wanted to show them step by step and you did that way too fast. So delete that. So we have no, just the in calendar, just delete what you just did. There you go. All right. So now you have appointment status is confirmed, right? So now we're going to go to add. What does that say?
Filter.
Add filter. So click on add filter and then select, and the option is in calendar. So that's the one we want because we just created Jane's personal calendar. What happened?
Kindly hold. Let me quickly refresh this one. Since we just created the calendar.
When you create things, you have to refresh things, which is annoying, but it is what it is. All right, so we're going to go back into triggers.
Okay, so let's
add filter. The filter is in calendar.
And then select.
All right, so then you choose the calendar that this is for. Okay, so actually the name of this automation could be appointment booked Jane's personal calendar. And that way you always know that this is for this, unless all of your calendars, because that's the other thing you can do. You can have multiple triggers here. So you could have a trigger for this one. So if you save this trigger and then add a new trigger, and the trigger is appointment booked, and then the event type is normal, appointment status is
and then appointment status is confirmed. And
add
then
filter.
Additional filter, which is in calendar, and then the next calendar that they would like
is
to
the discovery. What's the discovery call? All right. So now, but before you go out of this, change the work trigger name, right, to appointment status, appointment booked discovery call. So that's really, really important, because otherwise you're just kind of like, you have to keep clicking in, and that's really annoying. And it's okay if you have like one or two things, but when you have 100, getting this nomenclature is really important. Now, these two triggers will send the same exact emails and text messages, and you can customize that a little bit in here. But if you need, let's say I have two different workflows, one for online and one for in person. So my online, all of my calendars, when it's done online, go through the same workflow. So it'll say, here's the Zoom link, make sure you come, blah, 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 blah. And then for my in-person calendars, they all go to, we'll see you in the office at 834 South Street, blah, 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 blah. And so they get a different automation, and I keep those separate because it gets very confusing very quickly. So you can always duplicate this workflow and then make one online and one in person. So depending on how you roll. If you don't do any online stuff, then you don't need to duplicate that. I just said a lot. So do you have any questions for that you think the audience might be thinking at this point?
Yes, if I was putting myself in the audience's shoes, I'd probably want to go down and just kind of review this flow and just kind of get more familiar with, how it says internal email notification. Is there anything in there that they would need to see or change or click?
Okay, so with regards to the internal notification, so here, internal notification, so inside of the automation, we have two. There's three options rather, email, SMS, and also they can have the app notification. So inside of this automation, we just have two, which is email, and it will include the information about the appointment, like the client name, the contact information, the email, the calendar that is they schedule an appointment, whether Jane's calendar or the Discovery Call calendar. And then there's also here on the notification, it will include the message if they insert any message to the calendar form.
Yeah, and that's nice because when I get a notification, I can see exactly who just booked in under what calendar. So, if I see like a Morpheus appointment come in, I'm like, oh gosh, do I have Morpheus tips? I need to make sure I have Morpheus tips, and I can see when that it is, and I've got like 5 days to get it in, and it only takes, a couple days to get them. And if the message might say, I also want to do biofillers or something, or whatever, whatever message they want to put in there, or hey, can my friend come in and do Morpheus too? I can see that all straight from that email that the system sends me. So I know what's going on. And that's really, really helpful.
Yes. Also, there in this automation, there is a note as well that is being added inside of the contact page, so that if in case the client would like to see the notes inside, let me quickly show it. So when they go to contacts and then they visit the contact page, there's a notes here where the appointments will be added, the appointments note. And also if there's any message left, so they can easily access the notification, or rather the information about the appointment.
Yeah, and we'll go through conversations and contacts more in later stuff, but just to know that that's there. And this again is all set up for you when you sign up for NOLA. We set this stuff up for you, so you don't actually have to do this. You just have to go in and make sure everything looks good, and that the information is correct, and that it sounds the way you want it to sound. So you can edit anything that's in here. That's not a problem. And when you edit, you want to always save your actions. So if you were to save that action there, that'll close that. And then you want to save up at the top. And it won't even let you leave the screen unless you save up at the top,
Yes.
unless you like X out of the whole tab, which I've done before. And, I want to cry if you didn't save your work. And then, so the other thing that you can do is send text messages. Of course,
Appointment, appointment confirmation, and then on the workflow that we set up, we have appointment confirmation, and the important also is the appointment reminders. So we have appointment reminders 2 days before, 1 day before, and 1 hour before the appointment.
Right. And that's pretty standard. And most people are accustomed to that. Every once in a while you'll get somebody that's like, stop texting me. But, it's, and if you're not comfortable with 3 text reminders, you could just do emails and then 1 text reminder just an hour before, like, hey, we'll see you for your appointment. Or you do the text message, when they immediately sign up and say, hey, make sure you check your email to make sure that the email I just sent you didn't go to spam, so that they still get the reminders and stuff. But the text messaging I think is really, really helpful. And I really always appreciate getting text messages for appointments that I have coming up, because there's a lot of appointments that I would have missed if I hadn't gotten that text message. Some people do, especially if it's in person, they'll do an hour before. But if it's an online, they'll do like 10 minutes before, because that's the one where you're like, oh gosh, I forgot. Yeah, I have a meeting in 10 minutes. I need to get to it. And then I always put the link inside of the email. Now, if you have a Zoom account, you can connect your Zoom account. The problem is, if you have multiple people, you can't necessarily connect multiple Zoom accounts. So one of the things that I do that's just easier is I create a reoccurring meeting. So I have something called telehealth consults in my Zoom account. It's a reoccurring meeting, so it's the same link every single time. I copy and paste that link and put it into this email. So that way I'm not, people aren't like, where's the link? Where's the link? Because that kind of stuff is really annoying. It's really frustrating. So if you just create that, you can put it in the emails and send it to them so that they have it. And you can put it in the text message if you want. They can join from their phone. I have a lot of people that do join telehealth consults from their phone, so it is convenient to just have a text link to the Zoom call in, and then also in the email. And then there's
there's additional action here that we set up inside of the automation, which is the clients will receive, or the appointment or the users will receive notification asking them if the customer or the client show up on the appointment. So this is very important because there's additional automation connected to this. Like for instance, on the notification they will receive did the client show up, and then they just need to click on a specific link, whether it showed or did not show, and automatically here at the last step of our automation, automatically the appointment status will be changed to showed if they click on the showed link here. While if the client did not show and they click on that no show link, automatically the appointment will be changed to no show, and we have additional automation, which is the no show appointment automation here.
Right. And that's really important too. So, and you have to participate in this. So the system is going to send you a text message or an email that says, did this patient show up? And if you hit no, they didn't show up, it's going to start sending them emails and say, hey, we noticed that you missed your appointment. Let's get you rescheduled. And then you don't have to constantly be following up. So it's a really, really nice feature. You just want to make sure you click the right button. So if they do show, then nothing will happen. Now, the one thing that does get a little slightly confusing that you need to be aware of is, let's say they rescheduled at the last minute. I don't know, they were in an accident. They call you and say, hey, I can't make it, but I'll be there Tuesday at 3 or whatever. And you're like, okay, no problem. And you, so if you click, if that message comes to you, and that was, Jane who called you, and now the email says, hey, did Jane show up? If you hit no, then they go into an automation that says, hey, we need to get you rescheduled. But if you already have them rescheduled, I would just click showed, because otherwise they're gonna get confusing and conflicting messages.
And it also connects in with the dashboard, right, ladies? So if they put show, it's going to update their dashboard as well.
Yes. The dashboard here will show the appointment summary, like total appointments, total upcoming, total showed, no showed, and also canceled appointments. By the way, here at the bottom of the appointment book automation, it is only asking if the client or the customer showed or did not show. But we also have additional automation inside of the NOLA, which is the canceled meeting automation. So this automation will trigger once the appointment status is changed to canceled. So on how they can change the appointment status, so when they click on the calendar and then they click on the appointments, there's an option to change the calendar or the status of the appointment here. So once they click on canceled, so automatically the lead will be added, or this workflow will be triggered because of the appointment status canceled setting here. So once the appointment has been canceled, so automatically there's an SMS and also an email asking them if they to reschedule the appointment.
Right. So, and the one thing, because this, again, like this is such a powerful software, you can do so much with it, but the nice thing is that you don't have to do anything, and all of these things will just happen automatically for you. So once we set up your account, your appointments, your calendar, we'll set up your first couple of calendars. If you do want to duplicate calendars, you just need to know to duplicate this on the back end as well. And make sure that everything goes in the right spot. And you can certainly work with us we can test it for you, make sure everything looks good before you go live. But that's the whole point of, signing up with NOLA, because you can certainly do this out of the box, out of DHL if you bought like a Go High level, but you're on your own, and they charge like hundreds of dollars, and you have to wait weeks to get appointments for them. So the whole point of this is for us to help nurture your business, to give you better customer service, and we cost the same. So, and plus you get more because we have HIPAA compliance with our NOLA system that is actually cost $297 a month if you have an account with High Level, and then you want HIPAA compliance, which you need for emails and text messages. So that would cost you an extra $297 a month. That's just part of our service. So having said that, this actually took a lot longer than I thought it was going to take. I'm like, oh, just do a calendar. It's super simple. But like I said, the good news is all of this stuff is done for you. What we'll do is when you're on with NOLA, you're going to meet with Ira when you set up your account, and she'll just walk you through what we did, show you how it works, make sure the information is correct, and then it's done. So it's literally like, for you, it'll be 10 minutes. But if you want to do stuff on your own in the back end and build out even more stuff, this is how you would do it. So if people want to sign up for NOLA, do we have something for them?
Yes, we sure do. I will drop the link, and it will also be on the YouTube. If you're watching from YouTube, you guys, the link will also be in the description box as well. And just to reiterate one more time, you guys, the importance of this, that dashboard already being created and set up for you is so important. It will save you so much time. The automations, they say the fortune is in the follow-up. So instead of you using your time to send outreach messages and make phone calls and try to, get people when they're available, it would just make it much easier for you to have these automations in place so that you have a team. Even if you don't have a team, even if you're a solo entrepreneur, behind you, working hard, making connections for you, building rapport and trust, which is very important, and having that professional appearance on the outside. You are a professional, but this is just displaying you and building your reputation as such as well. So definitely keep that in mind. And we're here to help you every step of the way.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just going to drop the link right on in the chat for you guys. And then if you have any questions, definitely drop them in the comments if you are on live right now, and perhaps we can take a few.
Yeah, I think this is, like just doing this is a game changer for your business if you don't have this set up. And it's way more versatile and robust than any of the EMRs. So, a lot of people will say, well, why do I need this in my EMR? Well, your EMR is very, very limited in what it can do. And this follow-up is so incredible. Like, I thought the same thing. I'm like, well, I have Jane, which is great. It's a great EMR for patient notes and stuff. But I'm like, when I try to send email, I'm like, oh, this is really annoying. I'm like, I just want to, get notified. I want to send out emails. I want to do, this notification follow-up. I wanted to do all this additional stuff, and there's just no capability for, versatility it's like, it is what it is, and that's it. Or like my son says, you get what you get and you don't get upset. That's what he always says. And I'm like, well, but I have something better, and the something better, this is infinitely better than what your EMR can do and way more powerful. So it's worth learning the system. Like I said, it's already done for you. It's already set up for you. So you just want to sign up. Did you put the link? I don't see anything yet. Oh,
I added it to YouTube, and then I also commented here.
Oh, I don't see any comments. Okay, so awesome. So if you are interested and you want to sign up for NOLA, get this going, get the calendar up. This is just one. This is like a multi-month facets of all the things that NOLA does. I mean, it's absolutely overwhelming. So we want to take this one step at a time, and this is what you need to do first. You get your calendar and your automation set up, and then we'll build from here. But this is the absolute first step that you need to do, and then week by week we'll show you all the other amazing things that you can do. And my God, by the time we're done, it's ridiculous what you get for $97 a month. We'll build everything out with you. All right, guys. Well, thanks so much. And we'll see you at the same time next week.
See you. Thank you.
Thanks.